Hello and happy 2018 viewers, Liquid12A here, starting the year off by reviewing Azkend 2, a new puzzle tile matching indie game coming to the Nintendo Switch eShop. As per our disclosure policy, we are making it known that publisher 10 Tons provided us with a review copy. So, with that out of the way, let's see what this journey below the sea has in store for us. This game actually has a story. A somewhat basic story for what is essentially a Bejeweled-esque game. We are introduced to the narrator, Jules, at the helm of a ship on a journey from Liverpool, when all of a sudden, the vessel we're on is sucked into a whirlpool and thus thrown into darkness. You awaken to find out that you have landed somewhere under the sea, thankfully, and somehow unscathed. This is where the uncharted journey begins, as you must make your way back to the surface. It's by no means a masterpiece of a plot, but having one at all does ease some of the blandness that puzzle games tend to have without a story. Azkend 2 is a tile-matching puzzle game borrowing from the aforementioned Bejeweled. Across each level, your objective is to match tiles on a huge board in order to complete it. The game's main campaign is divided into chapters, with each one having several sets of puzzles. The goal of these is to find the pieces of a tool or artifact which one needs to progress. Chapter 1, for instance, has 4 pieces of a pair of binoculars, which are needed to scope the sea in front of you. Each piece of the tool or artifact will have its own puzzle to solve. Despite this, every puzzle has the same basic mechanics. Matching 3 or more items in any configuration will turn the tiles under those items. The goal is for all the tiles to be purple. Some tiles may need to be turned several times for this to happen. Once the entire board is purple, the piece that you're looking for will fall onto the board. Tiles must then be turned to move the artifact to the bottom of the screen to finish the level proper. Every chapter after this also follows the same trend, but there are counterbalances to avoid it becoming monotonous. Each artifact completed later becomes a power-up, of which 2 can be equipped at once, 1 active and 1 passive. Active power-ups involve things like freezing time or destroying tiles in real time, and passive abilities can do such things as remove a color from the board or slow down the timer throughout the entire level, acting in the background. The timed nature of the levels also changes as you progress, in scenarios such as fending off bugs or keeping a flower from wilting. As such, it's good to see a puzzle game actively attempt to avoid some monotony. Unfortunately, there is one big setback keeping the game from reaching its fullest potential of fun. The controls. Azkend 2 is one of the few games on the Switch where portable mode is recommendable over docked mode, because the touchscreen controls are so much better than the analog sticks, which move slower than your average computer mouse. It's not unplayable by any means, but for sure it is clunky. Even then, the timer is generous enough that the stick controls are forgivable to an extent, but they are a legitimate problem for people who don't like using docked mode all the time. But even with these gripes with the controls, Azkend 2 certainly delivers on the gameplay aspect. If you recall my comments on the aesthetics in the Sparkle Unleashed review, I could just copy-paste those same thoughts from that game onto this section. Sure, the overall theme is different now, going for something akin to an Atlantis story and not mystical fantasy, but the graphics and musical accompaniment are rather similar-ish, to the point where I almost thought they had the exact same title theme upon initial startup. It's that similar. That, mind you, is not a bad thing, as Azkend 2 still looks and sounds great, and still performs just as well as most 10 Tons games. So really, any comments about the similarity can be considered nitpicks. This is a fun puzzle game, awkward control notwithstanding, and even that doesn't come close to undermining the whole experience. Completion is always rewarded with something, so there's incentive to go on and just see how fast you can get through the levels. The main campaign can be done in fewer than 10 or even 5 hours if you're quick enough, so it's plentiful without being a grind fest. The variety used in later stages also does wonders for avoiding the painful tedium other puzzle games might have. Azkend 2, The World Beneath, is a fun if sometimes frustrating game that is worth the asking price, and I'm giving this game a 3.75 out of 5. Let us know what you think of this game if you buy it below. Make sure to like the video if you want to see more, and subscribe to Source Gaming for more news and reviews straight from the source. I am Liquid12A, signing off.